I had never been part of a frontier colony before. Stationed on Cryion 5, a remote mining and research outpost, I expected the usual monotony: resource management, maintenance, and occasional scientific surveys. What I hadn't anticipated was her. The alien woman everyone avoided, whispered about, and outright feared. The colony was small, barely enough to sustain life, with a few dozen humans and a handful of alien specialists assisting with geological surveys. But from day one, I noticed a section of the colony that seemed untouched. Nobody entered it. Paths leading there were overgrown or abandoned. The other colonists warned me quietly, "Stay away from Tent 9. That's where she lives." Curiosity is a dangerous thing. Naturally, I asked why. "She's different," a technician said in a low voice. "We don't know what she's capable of. She doesn't speak much and she watches. Everyone who goes near Tent 9 comes back changed. Or they don't come back at all." "Changed how?" I asked. "They just aren't the same. The air around her affects people. It's like she can see what you fear or what you want and manipulates you." Of course, I didn't believe him. That is, until the night I was assigned security rounds near Tent 9. First glimpse of the alien woman. The tent itself was large, made of strange bioluminescent fabric that pulsed like a heartbeat. A faint glow spilled onto the surrounding ground. As I approached, a sense of being observed washed over me. The hairs on my neck stood up, and my pulse quickened. Inside, she sat cross-legged on a mat of silvery fibers. Her skin glimmered faintly in the dim light, and her eyes, large, glowing amber, fixed on me immediately. Unlike others, she didn't look away or flinch. "You came," she said, her voice low but clear, carrying a weight beyond sound. I am just checking the perimeter," I stammered. She tilted her head slightly, curious and calculating. "I know, but I wanted you here." I froze. Nobody ever wanted to be there. Nobody ever left that tent without fear. "Why me?" I asked. Her eyes glimmered like molten metal. "Because you are not afraid. Not like the others." It was unnerving. A thrill ran down my spine. Part fear, part fascination. Somehow I had crossed a threshold that no one else dared. Learning about her abilities. Over the next few nights, I found myself drawn to her. She invited me into her world, her tent, and gradually into her mind. She didn't explain much verbally. Most communication was through gestures, energy pulses, and subtle emotional cues humans rarely interpret consciously. "I can see you differently," she said one night as I sat across from her, trying to understand the strange, pulsating light in her hands. "Most humans cannot endure proximity to my presence. Your mind is open." "What are you?" I asked cautiously. "I am a Velari," she replied simply. "A survivor, an observer, an exile. My kind fears my abilities. They call me dangerous, but I am not dangerous to those who understand me." She began to teach me, not just with words, but with her presence. I learned to sense vibrations in the air, subtle shifts in energy, and even patterns of thought in others. The more time I spent with her, the more I realized the extent of her abilities. One evening, while monitoring a colony-wide seismic sensor, she demonstrated her control over energy fields. A small tremor passed through the ground, and she amplified it, bending it safely around the colony structures. "You see," she said softly, "I do not harm, I protect. But protection requires understanding. Few possess the perception to comprehend me. You do." It was both exhilarating and terrifying. I was learning to interface with an alien consciousness, something humans were never meant to comprehend fully. Conflict with fearful colonists. Rumors began to spread. Some colonists reported feeling strange after passing near her tent. Unease, hallucinations, or an unexplainable compulsion to avoid her. Whispers became accusations. She was dangerous, manipulative, even malevolent. One night, a small group approached her tent with makeshift weapons. I followed quietly, knowing confrontation was inevitable. "Leave her alone," I said as they stepped into the glowing light. "She's dangerous. She manipulates minds," one shouted. The alien woman stood, her glow intensifying. I could feel her presence ripple outward, subtle yet undeniable. The intruders froze, their aggression fading into confusion and fear. "She does not harm," I said, almost pleading. "She protects." They fled, muttering and stumbling over themselves. She turned to me afterward. "You intervened. Humans usually flee or attack blindly. You choose differently." bonding and discovery. In the following days, our relationship deepened. It was not conventional. She was not human, and I was not accustomed to thinking like her. But I began to understand her needs. Autonomy, recognition, and the chance to interact without coercion or fear. She shared visions of her past. A civilization that feared individual choice, obsessed with control and obedience. She had fled centuries of expectation and judgment to find refuge here. And you, she said one night, you are not like the others. You do not fear what you do not understand. That is rare. Something within me shifted. Protecting her was no longer just duty. It became necessity, empathy, and curiosity intertwined. Evading pursuit. It was inevitable. A patrol of her own kind arrived, cloaked in shimmering armor reflecting the colony's bioluminescent lights. They demanded her return. I cannot, she said firmly. I have chosen here. They do not accept choice, I whispered. We fled to the outskirts of the colony, using my knowledge of the terrain and her abilities to evade capture. She guided me, manipulating energy fields to obscure our presence while I managed routes, traps, and obstacles. The enforcers pursued relentlessly, but the synergy between human intuition and alien power allowed us to survive the night. By dawn, we were safe, though the threat remained. Understanding and acceptance. In the days that followed, the colony gradually recognized her value. Not just as a mysterious being, but as a protector, a teacher, and a partner. Those who once feared her began to approach cautiously, observing her calm presence and extraordinary abilities. One evening, she and I stood on the ridge overlooking the colony, watching the sunset. You saved me, she said softly. Not just from them, but from isolation. You chose to understand, not to fear. I just did what seemed right, I replied, still awed by her presence. She reached out, her glowing hand brushing mine. Your choice defines you, and now you define me. From that day forward, her tent was no longer a place of fear. She became part of the colony, uniquely bound not by command, but by mutual trust. The alien woman no one dared approach had found not only safety but connection, and in doing so, she changed the colony forever. I realized that sometimes the bravest act is to approach what others avoid, to see what they fear, and to choose understanding over fear. And in that choice, two worlds collided, creating something entirely new. Trust, companionship, and an extraordinary bond between human and alien. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.